Right, Ms. Hodges, are you with us? Yes, you are.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Welcome back.
Hey, well, I've been here.
Well, I couldn't see you.
Chris, can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Gonna add in Ryan Kane.
Uh-oh.
All right, your screen appears to be up.
All right, great. So,
Hey, Kate, we're seeing the, if you can maximize your slide.
well, that's funny. It is on my screen.
Okay,
What's that?
that's fine.
So,
I don't know, Chris. Sorry, guys. You'll have to.
Big enough.
All right.
that'll do.
If you go to display settings, Kate, it probably will say hide preview. Nope.
It says
Sorry.
swap presenter. All right. Well, I'm sorry. It's mostly me talking, so.
That's what you should do, Kate. Swap the view.
If I can make a suggestion at 10:15 at night, I think this is fine.
Good enough.
Love that suggestion.
Let's plow ahead, please.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Okay, there we are. All right. So clearly, all types of industries and businesses have been affected by the COVID pandemic, and recreation in many capacities has arguably been hit the hardest as far as our municipal departments. And so Recreation Director Ryan Kane and BD General Manager Andrew Dutton have been working with me over these past many weeks relative to BD's reopening and ultimately trying to project what the next 9 months to 1 year is going to look like. And so BD's operation is different, as you all know, than Concord's other enterprise or special revenue accounts, because unlike electricity and water services, BD has a lot of competitors in the area, and people choose to be part of BD over other facilities in the area, and that's a choice that they make. And so this number tends to fluctuate from year to year and sometimes month to month, even just during a normal cycle. And so the post-COVID appetite for returning to any kind of athletic center is differing greatly from person to person, household to household, and even in and amongst private gyms and other public facilities like the YMCA. So BD closed in March, as you know, to the public and reopened only in early July. During that time, about 50 employees were furloughed. As of today, 302 households are back, meaning that they're paying their full membership dues. But that's out of 880 at the time of closure. And so it's a little under 35% return rate. So before we were able to truly evaluate or even begin to opine on the numbers for the fiscal year 21 budget, we needed to understand where we were going at the end of last fiscal year. And so this slide shows the major budget drivers, including what the pre-COVID projection is, and that's in the middle column, and then what the new amount is. So I want to make sure that I address the caveat that these are pre-audit numbers, that right now we're going through the audit. And so these are the pre-audit numbers that align with the internal accounting system. But again, the depreciation expense and some of the investment income will fluctuate. And so having closed for the last 4 months at the end of the fiscal year had a very large impact. Where we were projecting initially a $22,000 net gain, we expect to suffer a loss of approximately $270,000. And that is without taking into effect what we have had to pay for unemployment for the furloughed employees. So we have to address that number and what we've been seeing. And taking those numbers into account, we made several and newer modified assumptions to try to go through the fiscal year 21. So for fiscal year 21, we assumed that normal revenues were going to be down 50% for the first 6 months. So that would be July through December. And then they were going to go up, but not entirely back to 100%. So we'd be at 75% revenue for the final 6 months. And so we made those decreases appropriately. The town, as we talked about before, decreased the amount that is paid into the general fund to zero. That was historically around $90,000 from BD. We have the Compass cleaning contract, which we are showing a reduction in cleaning services of about $50,000, not because we're not cleaning, but because we're rolling in a lot of those to some of the staff that we're doing things in pods where people sign up for an hour and a half circuit, and then the building is shut down for a period of 20 minutes to a half an hour and fully cleaned, and the staff do that. So we're able to see a little bit of savings there. In fiscal year 21, so this upcoming, we had hoped to hire a new position that was a membership director, someone that was really proficient in marketing and doing athletic marketing. And while we still truly do need that, we're looking to probably not hire that person until the latter part of this fiscal year. And so we've reduced that amount from 70,000 to 35,000. And if we don't see things trending in the right direction, we may not fill that position at all. We decreased our capital expenses by $45,000 by delaying new exercise bike purchases. We added back a small amount that was in the BD endowment of $20,000 to try to augment some of the issues in the revenue generation that we're having. We reduced $17,000 from group exercise because we do not plan to replace the person who was managing the group exercise, and those functions are going to be absorbed into the role and duty of BD's assistant general manager. And then we had a series of smaller reductions in part-time staff hours, swim lesson offerings. The understanding is essentially, we're not open for as many people, and we're not open for an inordinate amount of time, given that we have to close and clean the gym down several times during the week. So we were trying to reduce things that are associated with that accordingly. So, for example, revenues, we decreased by 50%. And so we have a 25 to 30% reduction in the corresponding salaries. So if we're not doing the lessons and we're not doing the programs, then we're not paying people to do those. So at the end of the fiscal year, you can see that we're looking at a 37.5% decrease, or about 882,000 that we are trying to shave off of expenses. Here you can see the largest line items updated, which account for approximately 27% decrease in expenditures. So that brings our expenditures, a little under $1 million, including what I had just mentioned about general fund transfers and the decrease in the capital outlay. So with these new numbers in play, the fiscal year outlook looks pretty grim for fiscal year 21. We were projecting a $27,000 net. We're likely facing upwards of a $750,000 loss. So if that was the worst case scenario, which would come to fruition, BD does have a pretty healthy fund balance. But of course, taking that amount of money out, it would decrease our position in that account and bring that to about $2 million. And just in closing, I realize I've not been able to paint the sunniest picture, but I wish to highlight the rec leadership, including Ryan Kane and Andy Dutton, who are both on this call, who have worked much more than 40 and 50 hours a week during the entire pandemic to do everything possible to keep programming and BD going. The negative financial outlook has absolutely no reflection on the professionalism and commitment and drive of our rec director and of our general manager of BD. It just is a sign of the times and uncertainty. And it's very, very hard to predict when and if people will be ready to come back to group exercise settings. So we're doing our best, and we're open to suggestions. And I wish I had better news.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, I think if I can just weigh in, I think just to build on, and it is, I don't mean to make light of it, it is bad news for the BD Center. The thought with which it landed here in this hearing, I think is evidence of that. And I think the troubling thing for all of us is, when's it gonna turn around? And so that's the thing. And like I said, I agree with Kate. She and her team do a great job of managing it, and they're trying to think of new and different ways to generate additional revenue, but with also complying with the rigorous, guidelines from the state. So it's a challenging problem, and that's, as you can see now, it's plain why we eliminated the general fund transfers. So it's a tough situation, but we're going to keep at it and see if we can turn it around.
Thank you very much. All right, questions from the Finance Committee or the Select Board, Mary?
First of all, I want to say thank you very much to both Kate and Stephen and Ryan. And I know the hard work that you're doing, and I really appreciate it. I wonder if the fact that you've decided to delay your marketing manager until things turn around, part of me thinks this might be when you need the marketing manager.
No way.
You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that you're looking at, and I know you are, just looking at what's happening with the pandemic and get that person on board as quickly as possible. You know, that's a savings that I think once you hire the right person, they'll more than pay for what you're paying them. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Mary. Are there, Susan?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to echo what Stephen said and thank Kate and Ryan and all of the folks at the BD Center, because I know you're working really hard. I had a great review from a neighbor the other day who's back there and says we all ought to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Terry?
My question is simply, what is the number that we are voting at town meeting under Article 23 for this budget?
Sorry, the number that we're looking for is expenses of somewhere around $2,347,000.93. The reason being is because we need to be able to have the ability to be able to either spend more if we're taking more in. And so while we have painted a picture here that is not, we're trying to be realistic and we're trying to hopefully be cautiously optimistic. But the number you'll see that we put forward is it's adjusted, but it's not adjusted as much as this is, because if in fact people 3 months from now, decide that they're ready to come back, and perhaps some of the restrictions about, how far apart people need to be are helpful for group exercise and getting swimming lessons back on board. We need the ability to be able to pay those staff for the hours that we need them to work. So we do need that flexibility.
Right.
So just to be clear, I guess I'm not as interested in the exact number as you said. It's somewhere around the number of, like, do we have a real number now and we should vote to take a position on the article, or is it?
So the expenses are $2,347,000.93. But I need to submit that to the finance team to make sure that they're on board. So when I say somewhere around there, I mean give or take $100. And sometimes we don't always round it to the cent.
Sure.
Apparently only Ryan, Kate, and I go down to the very penny. So it'll be in that vicinity.
Okay, so it's not that, we still have another month to go till town meeting, and you don't expect a big change between now and then in your estimated expenses?
No, the estimated number that we're giving is the best case scenario, meaning people are coming back and we're operating at, somewhere in the 80% of what we were doing. The number that we talked about tonight is more in the 50%.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Seeing none from the committee or the select board, Stefan Bader is asking a question. At least I think he is. And so if you could turn him on, and I will say while we are getting Mr. Bader's video and audio that I communicated with Chris, and the entire financial statements for the Junction Village project are in fact on the website and part of the package that was put forward. So is Mr. Bader with us yet?
Yes.
Where are you?
Stephan Bader, 7 River Street. I just wanted to say thank you to Ryan and Kate and everyone, Stephen, everyone managing through a most difficult time. And I just wanted to add the comment that the next time an auditor or someone else suggests that a fund balance or a reserve balance or a free cash balance is too high and should be reduced, that the standard answer going forward should be COVID-19 pandemic.
I was wondering if anyone was going to bring that up. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Bader.
You're welcome.
Are there any additional comments or questions from the board or the committee? Stephen, did I see your hand?
Yeah, just real quick. I think, and I know Kate talked about it, but I think just looking ahead, the biggest challenge is you can't treat half a pool. You can't, turn on the air or AC in half of the building to be open, but you are limited to having half the people in it at one time. And that's the biggest challenge. And that's where I think we just need to be clear, right, about, I think the community supports the BD Center in terms of, conceptually, but the community needs to support it by getting memberships and scheduling times to work out, because that's the only way it's going to survive.
All right, thank you very much.
I see that Ryan Kane has his hand up in the hand raise feature.
Good thing you're here tonight, Dean. I miss these guys. So turn Mr. Kane on. Let's hear what he has to say.
Okay, can you hear me, Mike?
Yep.
Hi, Ryan. Yes, I can hear you and I can see you. So please identify yourself for the record.
Yeah, Ryan Kane, Director of Recreation. Just wanted to make a couple of quick comments. One, to recognize the hard work done by the staff to open safely. If you've come by and you've seen it, it is operating in a very safe manner. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into that. And we also appreciate the patrons that are coming out and trusting in us to be operating in that safe manner. Also, a thanks to the town management and the select board for, going with that recommendation of the decrease in the general fund transfers. And the last thing was just a comment that was brought up earlier, but it's to recognize the Finance Committee for previous guidance and talking about not spending down the fund balance and the importance of that fund balance. And like we said, I think moving forward, I think our eyes are much more open to it. But the Finance Committee spoke up very much so at the last couple of Finance Committee presentations we had that said, we don't see that making any sense to spend down a fund balance. And for the most part, we weren't doing that, but the auditors were making that type of request. So appreciate that guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, and thanks for all the work you and your team have done. Greatly appreciated. Are there any other comments or questions from the board? Or
I'll just note for the record that Mr. Rothermel came in, raised his hand, then he was joined as a panelist, raised his hand again, and he seems to have vanished from the list. So
he's back on.
He's on the bottom right.
Is he here?
His name.
well,
Yes.
if we can get him turned on, let's hear what Mr.
Yeah.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
No, that's
Gary, would you like to
Jeremy.
would you like to make a comment?
I still don't see him.
I don't either.
And according to my participant list, he's not on the list.
He's not responding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments from the board or the committee? If not, then I'll remind everyone what we are going to do. In just a moment, I'm going to ask for a motion for the Finance Committee to adjourn and to reconvene to take positions on warrant articles. The Finance Committee will stay here on this Zoom meeting ID and do the same thing. And we will all reconvene tomorrow night with a Finance Committee public hearing that begins at 7 o'clock. Mr. Tarpey.
Mike, I do see Terry in the lower right-hand corner of my screen now. I don't know whether he can unmute himself or speak, but he is there. And I would...
Yeah, let's see if we can get him. I don't.
He's not responding to requests to activate his video or unmute. Yep, we've tried several times. Yep.
My apologies. Okay.
All right. So as I said, the Finance Committee will stay and consider their position on warrant articles, and then Dean will convene the Finance Committee tomorrow evening.
Can I just make a comment? The Finance Committee is in a meeting right now, and I don't think I need to stop that, but we need to close the hearing, and then we can just keep our meeting going. I don't think I need to close our meeting and then reopen it, because we're staying on the same.
Both the committees need to close the public hearing, and then the select board needs to adjourn. So Dean, why don't you close the public hearing from the Finance?
So I need a motion to close the public hearing this evening, and I'm going to ask for that from the Finance Committee.
Move to close the public hearing.
Okay, and a second? Seconded. Okay, I'm going to call the roll. Dean Banfield, I vote yes. Ms. Ortner?
You're muted. You're muted, D.
Everybody try to unmute now so we know what's going on. Okay, Mr. Tarpey?
Yes.
Mr. Guariello?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Hartman?
Yes.
Mr. Hickling?
Yes.
Mr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Jameson?
Yes.
Ms. Zoll?
Yes.
Mr. Swain?
Yes.
Mr. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Okay, so the Finance Committee has agreed to close the hearing.
I would entertain a motion from the clerk.
Of the select board, move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, would the clerk please call the roll?
Okay. Ms. Ackerman?
Aye.
Ms. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Myself, Ms. Escobedo, aye.
Thank you. I note it passes unanimously. And now I'd entertain a motion for the select board to adjourn. And
Move to adjourn.
Second.
second, would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Ackerman?
Aye.
Ms. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Myself, Ms. Escobedo, aye.
I note that it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We're adjourned and the select board will be leaving. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Thank you.